Hello and welcome to the next case. We have a 75-year-old patient here with a history of headache and gradual visual disturbance. We can start with the axial T2 weighted slices on this MRI head and we'll have a look. So as we scroll through the brain, we probably get a general impression of some generalized atrophy. There's certainly some kind of periventricular and deep white matter hyperintensity. We can look on the flare at that as well, most likely in keeping with a degree of cerebral small vessel disease. But something else is catching my eye, and if we look at this slice here, we can see there is something sitting within the suprasellar system. Now, if we switch over to our post-contrast T1 weighted sagittal slices, you can see that this is a bit of a Christmas special case because we have this snowman-shaped mass occupying the pituitary fossa and extending, also occupying the suprasellar system. And it is a snowman shape because we can see it's pinched in here as it crosses through the diaphragma ocelli. You can probably appreciate that as well on the coronal slices, where we can see the mass within the pituitary fossa and then pinched in, and then also within the suprasellar system. Now, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to tell whether a mass started in the suprasellar system or started within the pituitary fossa, and that could really help us to narrow down our differentials. One clue that we can look at is what the diaphragma ocelli is doing as the mass passes through it, and we can see these two little black lines here and here mark the dural layer of the edge of the diaphragma ocelli, and we can see, if I scroll up here, that they are slightly deviated upwards, so slightly angulated upwards, suggesting that this mass originated in the pituitary fossa and is extending upwards, and therefore suggesting that we can think about our differential for pituitary lesions. I guess one other thing to think about is what is this mass doing to the optic pathways, and here if we scroll backwards and forwards, we need to try and pick out whether we can see what the optic tracks are doing. This may be slightly easier on a different weighting. Now, with very big pituitary masses like this, sometimes it can be difficult to really pick out this anatomy because it's all kind of all deviated out of its usual location. But right here at the top, we can see a little bit here and a little bit here, and this is the post-chiasmatic optic tracks going backwards as we go on backwards slices towards the back of the head, towards the lateral genicular nuclei. And as we come forward towards the mass, we can see a little strip here and a little strip here. We can see that they are significantly displaced, draped across the top of this suprasellar component. Let's start typing some stuff. So large mass within the pituitary fossa and suprasellar system. What else could we say about this? We could say, let's have a look just at its signal characteristics. We can see on this post-contrast image, it is enhancing. This is pre-contrast, and this is post-contrast, so enhancing. But there are some areas of less significant enhancement. When we look on the T2 weighted images, we can see that those areas of less significant enhancement show quite high T2 weighted signal, suggesting that they're probably cystic spaces. Post-contrast images show enhanced with some non-enhancing cystic spaces. The mass is pinched in at the diaphragma ocelli and displaces the diaphragm superiorly and slightly displaces, maybe we could say. Displaces. What else do we want to say about this? We could say optic chiasm displaced superiorly. Yeah, I think that's probably most of what we have to say here. Oh, and then we can also look at the relationship of the mass to the cavernous segments of the carotid artery, and we can see that the mass extends around both carotid arteries to a significant degree. So we can say bilateral carotid artery encased by the mass. Let's say cavernous segments of bilateral carotid arteries encased by the mass, and then we can say something about moderate small vessel disease. Cool, let's generate a report. We can probably get rid of that comment at the start. Large massive. Good. So we didn't have DWI and SWI sequences here, but that was part of my template, so RadCoPilot has helpfully put that in. So that's interesting. So in our summary, we've gone as far to say that we think these features are suggestive of pituitary macroadenoma, and I completely agree with that. I think that is most suggestive. But say we weren't too confident on that, maybe we could go to RadChat and ask for a bit of help. So we could say something like, what features help us be confident that this is a particular differential? Yeah, so it goes through each of the features that we need to think about. So obviously the imaging characteristics, the location, the effect on surrounding structures, I think is key for this mass. and has settled on pituitary macroadenoma. So I think I'm happy to accept the report there, and we can finish.